All right, good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to the July 13th, 2023 Solar Eclipse QSO Party and Festivals of Eclipse Ionospheric Science. Phone call, Zoom call. The main thing I wanted to cover today, let me throw the agenda up on the screen real quick. Let's close this thing. What's this doing in my way? Main thing I wanted to cover, obviously, Ed's been quite busy this week and had some nice successes. We'll talk about the standardized presentation, our need for presenters again. But what I'd like to spend at least a good bit of our time is our club activities. Ward Silver suggested probably a month or so ago that we have a spot on our webpage, or if somebody was at a club, heard about what we were doing and wanted to know what they could, how they could support it, and what they could do to operate. Send them right to that page and have some details there. So I'd like to do that. And I see if there's any science topics as well. Is there anything anybody wants to would like to add to the agenda? Okay.
Gary,
sorry, yes.
Sorry. So I wanted to just give a brief update and ask a couple of questions before Ed went ahead and started with his comments. He said I could go ahead first, if that's okay.
I did. I'm yielding some time to Mackenzie.
There you go.
Hey,
All right.
can I also, maybe Gary, can we also put on the agenda, bring up the scoring committee again?
Yes.
We haven't thought about the scoring committee at all. Okay. Sorry, go
Okay.
ahead, Mackenzie.
Okay, sorry. Well, good evening, everybody. So I'm just briefly going to go over a quick update and then ask a couple of questions. So to get started, I have a couple of good English-speaking contact information for the main national amateur radio clubs of each country. I have Mexico, El Salvador, Costa Rica, Guadeloupe, Puerto Rico, Trinidad, and Bermuda. And I say this because I watched the last video. I know Nathaniel was discussing kind of spreading the PR side into Mexico and South America, but I'm still looking for more contacts in Panama as well as South America. So that's something I'm actively working on. And as for my questions, going back to Bermuda, I wanted to know if we want Bermuda's participation or if that'll be too far east.
I think we'd want them.
Okay.
I think one of the nice things is, you know, with the superset of data, we can generally filter out things that don't, you know, help us. So I think we'd want them.
Okay, awesome. Another question of
Consider
mine.
them a control.
What's that, David?
I said you can consider them a control station.
True. And I'm sure they'll be talking to people across the Eclipse path as well.
Right, okay. I just wanted to make sure. Another question of mine is, I have a couple of contacts that could be validated as English speakers in Cuba as well as Venezuela. And I wanted to know if it's okay to contact those people because of the current poor relationship with the United States.
I see no problem with that. The good thing about ham radar is we generally try to operate above the politics.
Right.
The
Mhm.
Ukraine war, that wasn't always true, but so far with the South Americans, I think we're in pretty good shape.
Okay, I just wanted to double check to make sure that's okay.
Mhm.
And my last two questions are, should I send out the invitation letter with the details on how to participate to those countries? And should I add a flow chart on how to get involved?
Yeah, I would move ahead.
Okay.
Yeah. Time is of the essence, so I wouldn't wait. Yeah, I would go ahead and do it.
All right.
One thing I want to mention while we're on that subject. So I was checking the HamSCI at hamsci.org email box, which I try to do a couple times a week. And I think there was one request in there about somebody had an issue with the website, but there was a banner at the top saying that our outgoing email has been blocked from the HamSCI address because we had used it to do a couple of mass mailings to some of the contest clubs, which seems like a perfectly normal thing to do. But their mailbox abuse algorithm caught that, saying, "Hey, what are you doing?"
Mhm.
I had to click on it and do a little survey explaining, you know, what we were doing, what we're about, send them a link to our website, and they sent a message back saying, "Thank you, we received that. Give us a few days and we'll get back to you." So stuff happens, right? So We just
Yep.
gotta work through this one, give them a few more days, I suppose.
Yeah, I have to say, we may end up seeing some, we may end up having some growing pains with the email system. Because that's something I set up for free when I first got started and I didn't have any grant money and stuff like that. So, I'm just on this free Zoho account. If we need to exceed that, it's the complication here won't be money. It's going to be IT policy at the University of Scranton. Because typically anytime you want to use a new piece of software or a new service, it has to be reviewed by the IT department and possibly sent to general counsel, and it's very complicated. So, and so we'll keep an eye on that, but we'll have to think about it if there's hopefully it just doesn't break, but just know that there might be some growing pains that we may have to figure out.
Yeah, so like I say, I know we did nothing wrong. What we did was perfectly innocent, and hopefully they'll agree with that too, and then we'll be able to move forward. But it's been, I think, 2 days since I filled out the little survey, so still waiting to hear
Okay.
back, so.
Yeah, not unusual.
Yeah, I mean, at least I can go in there and pick up the emails and answer them from my own account, so it's not like we're dead in the water, so.
Yeah,
Anyway. Okay, was that it, Mackenzie? You're good?
Yes, thank you.
He's good.
Okay, you're welcome.
And we need leads obviously from South America. So and that, we're going to
You
talk
do.
a little bit about that tomorrow. So all good. So thanks,
thanks.
Mackenzie.
Thank
Yeah.
you.
Yeah. Anyway, I'll just, obviously I'm watching time because we've got a busy schedule today. Just, a quick update as to sort of what's transpired in the last week. I think we finished last Thursday's meeting with the fact that I had met with the ARL PR committee the night before. I did follow with Bob Interbitson as well, just to make sure, get a confirmation that, we're really truly on board, okay, in terms of a partnership. And Bob was really enthusiastic about it. They referred me over at the same time over to Mike Walters, W8ZY, who many of you know, he's the ARL club coordinator. He had spoken with both Bob and Sierra about my meeting with Sierra the week before. And he's on board, okay, with obviously with the contest or the club aspect of it in terms of promoting it with ARRL. He's going to produce a HamSCI related content for the August edition of ARRL Club News, which is the earliest in terms of schedule, but actually sort of dovetails with our plans in terms of really, pushing things out on or about August 1st. And obviously this is also a topic that's going to come up today, is that the one thing that he needs from us are some ideas about events that clubs can do around the event. So Gary, it dovetails rather nicely with, I guess with Ward's comments earlier. I don't know whether they talk, but nevertheless, I mean, being able to help him, to sort of, jumpstart clubs with events and activities, with us obviously pushing the word around with the league and the PR committee, I think is going to be helpful that way. So I also did an outreach this week to Jason Johnston W3AAX on cooperating and a possible partnership with POTA. This came up in not only from Mike Walters and my conversation with him, but also if we're reading the POTA Facebook pages, there's some increasing interest in terms of HamSCI and doing activations. I reached out to Jason, and this is sort of a yes and a no. I'll do the no first. He isn't necessarily interested in doing anything for the fall event. With the reason being, and I learned a little bit about this, I guess, and I should have known a little bit about early, is that they're really up to their eyeballs in terms of people asking them to partner on things. Obviously, POTA being a really hot area of amateur radio right now. And they're, and right now he says between Boy Scouts and West Point, which were two experiences which were not all that positive. I just say that in quotes, not from the standpoint of getting the word out, just in terms of complications in terms of partnering, is that he's not necessarily interested in working with us now, but he will be willing to work with us for the spring for the 2024 event. So that's, part win, part not necessarily win, but we are on his radar. And I reached out to him back again today to say, can I reach out after the October eclipse? And he said, yeah, let's talk about it at that point. So sort of a half a win in terms of where we're going there. Nathaniel, I'll save the NOAA discussion for you, okay, in terms of those events. And Gary as well for the North Dakota presentation on Saturday. This Sunday, I will be at the Sussex, New Jersey Hamfest. looking like a HamSCI volunteer. I'll have my white coat and my red hat. And I've got lots of cards, and it's the biggest ham fest in the New York area. So hopefully we get a chance to make a lot of contacts with people and really spread the word. I'll be at the ARL booth because I'm one of the ARL PICs. So I'll be there, sort of doing double duty and working the crowd, just like we did in Dayton. I guess Mackenzie has mentioned our work in terms of looking at Central and South America. We put together an IARU affiliated club list as well, so we can do some outreach through them. And going back to the original ARRPL PR committee meeting from the week before, is that we did receive some feedback from Desiree Backus, N3EZ. I think I forwarded that on to you, Gary, right? Last night. She's one of our committee members. She works for NASA and has a lot of ideas in terms of doing outreach, in terms of looking at the ham radio from NASA's perspective, and has also provided a list of NASA-related amateur radio clubs that we should reach out to. Okay, and they'll help us spread the word at the same time. So that's basically where we are. I've also got 2 club presentations set up for next week and the week after here in the Northern New Jersey section, sort of for me, dry runs for some of the other things that we want to do. Just, I guess, also just as a mention, is again, kudos to Ron for the story that ran in CQ magazine. It was a real home run. If you haven't got a chance to see it, I asked Rich Moses in W2VU for copies of it. He's going to send me a PDF of the entire issue, the July issue of CQ, and I'll move that around to everybody. And obviously, if you don't have a subscription to CQ, we might want to take one out too, as a thank you for that. So, I mean, that's basically where we are, I guess. And the items that I guess I'll turn over at this point, again, Nathaniel, obviously, in terms of looking at NOAA, and Gary, a quick update in terms of the North Dakota section meeting. So anyway, back to you, WX2R.
Okay, yeah, the North Dakota held their annual section meeting. Now there's not a tremendous number of hams in North Dakota as you would expect, but they at least do get together on an annual basis and have probably a flea market ham fest and speakers on a lot of various topics. And they've reached out to us and to one other group to present virtually. And aside from a little confusion over time zones, probably should have used the universal coordinated time, but anyhow, we were able to pull off, I think, a decent presentation using our standardized deck. Ed was there to help answer some questions and hear what questions were people asking of us. And I did get a couple of responses in the great hosting interest form as a result. So I think we got some results there from North Dakota. Anything else on that one, Ed?
No, I think that was good. Yep. And they were interested in my feedback with Joe Ferrara and Ron Merritt was that, they'll work with us. So I put them on our list and we'll send out our stuff. So.
Okay, good. Is there anything on the NOAA thing, or is that just bubbling under the surface? I saw another meeting invite came through for August.
Yeah. Nathaniel, do you want to talk a little bit about that, or?
Sure. So earlier this week, we were contacted by Kimberly Eves of NOAA, and she wanted to know how NOAA could get HamSCI involved because they were interested in doing some events for the eclipses, including one in Texas. I think they wanted to do one in Washington, D.C. and at least one other place.
Yeah,
and
Albuquerque.
So Albuquerque, that's right, Albuquerque. And so Ed and I met with Kim on Zoom on Tuesday, I think it was. And we came up with the idea that we would have a local club. Ed will help set her up with a local club for each of those particular locations, and they will be participating in the solar eclipse QSO party. And then someone from each of those clubs will be able to give a HamSCI talk about the eclipse, what we expect to get from the eclipse, what the past eclipse results were, things like that. So a public outreach talk. And so Ed would train the speakers up on our standard talks. So I think this is really good to have NOAA be interested in us this way. I'd also like to note, I didn't get a chance to respond to her yet. She just emailed me yesterday. Mitzi Adams is the NASA astronomer from Marshall Space Flight Center who helped us have the HamSCI workshop down in Huntsville, Alabama last year. And she contacted me asking what our plans were for the eclipses and if there was any way that they could be involved as well too. So I'm going to respond to her and, give her the same sort of idea, tell her what we're up to with these different things. And so I think it's really great to, again, have this NASA connection.
Yep.
Yeah. So. Yeah,
Perfect.
back to that.
Yeah, and just to follow is that I reached back to Kimberly and I see Bill Nader, KATE, is on the call. Bill, I think you're Albuquerque Club, correct?
That's correct. I'm the section manager as well as an officer in the Albuquerque DX Association.
Yeah, perfect. So so I think I'm in the process of referring you on to her. Okay, so I'll
Great.
back copy you, okay, as well on that. So, and I know
Thank
we've
you.
worked. I recognize the call. So, anyway,
Oh,
so
and,
so
and
that's
one more thing.
sure. Mhm.
I actually have a copy of Ron's article here.
Yep.
Through my CQ account, so I can just show it to everybody really quickly.
It was outstanding.
So, yeah, so here is the electronic version of CQ magazine. And so there you go. There it is. Forging amateur professional bonds. We got some beautiful pictures of the audience and the speakers at the HamSCI workshop. And Ron did a wonderful job writing all of this up. So I think we're getting some very nice press there.
Yep.
Yeah. So yes, if you don't have a CQ subscription, I encourage you to get that. You can get the digital one and you can get access to it right away.
Yeah, and I'll move the digital when the PDFs when Rich sends them on to me. And actually, we're going to have lunch in early August, talk about what we want to do between now and obviously next year. So all good.
Wonderful.
Okay, well, those are some excellent updates. We've
Yep.
certainly got a lot of irons in the fire, and I think they're producing even more importantly. There's a lot of good to come from all these efforts for sure.
Gary has a question. Yeah.
Oh, there's Gary. Yes, go ahead.
Yes, actually an update. With the PowerPoint presentation that you sent to me on the 20th of this month, I'm going to my local club, which is the Central Kentucky Amateur Radio Society, and do a presentation. They're going to do a presentation of our field day they usually do a slideshow with pictures and all that. And I'm going to take over the equipment and do a presentation on HamSCI. And if it goes well, they're going to set me up at the Richmond, Kentucky ARRL approved HamFest, which is September 16th. September 16th, and our club is the sponsor for the HamFest. So I probably won't have to pay for a table or anything. And following that, they are working me into connections to September 23rd at the second annual Lexington, Kentucky HamFest, which is last year was really huge because Lexington's got about 340,000 people, something like that. But they're going to set me up on that. And they were talking about the charges of the table. It's like $10. That's nothing. I can do that. So, but I would like to, between now and September, maybe have something that I could give out if somebody's got little cards or something. So my printer is kind of old, but yes, like that. In case somebody wants to have a takeaway from it, But that's all I got. I've just got those 3 updates.
Well, that's all very good news. One, I'm encouraged that other people are using our standardized presentation deck that we put together. As we were saying earlier, we need a few more people to be able to do the presentations. Ed's be good at it. I've done it a few times. Ron obviously is a good speaker and has done a lot of that. And we can add you to the list. And you're obviously got a couple of upcoming events. And I can certainly get you. We've probably got over 1,000 of these. Our little business card hands out left, Gary. So
Okay.
as time gets a little closer, remind me, and I'll drop some in the mail for you. It's not a problem.
Okay, Dad, I appreciate it much because I'm sure somebody will say, "Do you have something that I can have or a little brochure?" And But by the way, the
Hmm.
notes on that presentation that you were reminding me about that I found, that I went back and I was, oh, those are very good. So explaining everything. So it's very helpful inside the presentation. And Nathaniel, the animation, that's worth gold
Thank you.
on the track of both of the eclipses. That's beautiful.
Thank you. And Gary, if you need more of those cards, you could probably call Lisa and we can order more of those.
I've got
Okay.
my 300 right here for the weekend. So there you go.
Great.
So just
Yeah.
one quick question, unrelated. I know a couple of weeks back, and it just popped into my head. We had talked about Boxborough, okay, whatever Boxborough became, okay, that type of thing. Yeah, are we still on the program for that? Just so everybody's up to speed.
Yes, as a matter of fact, this morning on the grape call, Stan Podzerski, KD1LE, said that he's on the program to talk about HamSCI. So
Great, that's perfect. Okay, thanks. Yep.
If I may jump on that bandwagon, we're having the Rocky Mountain Division Convention. That's for all four of us states, Utah, Wyoming, Colorado, and New Mexico, next month. And while they have just closed their acceptance of presentations, knowing how things work, I'd be happy to take the opportunity to use a presentation somebody's already done. I'm very comfortable presenting. I've talked to a lot of hams about how to make their presentations better. Be happy to do that, assuming they allow me at the Rocky Mountain Division Convention here in Albuquerque. Just registered for it last night. So whoever has something, I'd be happy to get it from you and try to weasel my way in.
yeah, it's fairly large. It's like 30 megabytes. It's on a shared Google Drive, Bill, and I could certainly send you a link to that. So if you could like put your email address in the chat or something like that, and then at least you could take a look at it now and see if you have any questions and how you'd want to approach it.
Sure, I'll send you an email.
It
Okay,
flows
that's
really
great.
well. Bill, it flows really well. I practiced through it several times for Monday's meeting, or not Monday's, yeah, Thursday's meeting. Next Thursday, it flows very well.
Practice?
I'm rusty.
Well, the nice thing I like about that presentation is it's kind of a number of people contributed to it. A lot of it was taken from Nathaniel's talks before Dayton. Ron put some stuff in there of more of the human interest stuff, which helps a little bit. Even Bill Lyles had a suggestion at the end of listing some of the peer-reviewed papers that HamSCI research has been in. So he said if there's scientists in the audience, they'll see that sort of thing and realize that we're not just a bunch of amateurs, so to speak. We're pretty professional too. So, but anyhow, there's just a lot of people's input. So it's nice that
You
it
may
came
have sent
together.
that to me, but can you send it to me again, please?
Yes,
Thanks.
will do. Okay, anything else on the publicity, public relations topics? What I'd like to do then is I'm going to jump over to back to my PowerPoint just so I can take some notes while we're talking. So I'm not sure where to begin, but like I said, the thought was that if there's an article, whether it's a short article, we get something published in a local club's newsletter, something like that. And the club program manager saw something about us. I'd like to have a club activities page somewhere under the festivals. We could say, okay, as a club, here's a suggestion of things you could do to, one, get your members to participate individually, or to participate as a club, and so on and so forth. Just to kick
I
this
think-
off, yes.
Oh, no, go ahead. Keep going, Gary.
No, I mean, the first thing I thought would be to suggest that they actually have a HamSCI speaker explain to the club what's going on. So that would be one option. That's it. What's next? Anybody else?
Could build a grape.
There you
Yep.
go. A club operating event, because I know we encourage people to go out, and we're talking about the POTA thing and going out and operating from the field and being able to view the eclipse if they're in the right
Yeah,
spot.
and from past experience, because we did it in 2017, is, sort of treat it like field day. Okay, where you want to be in a public place if you can. And I guess the other, is there, if there's any way that you can tie it in, particularly for people who are close to totality, regarding something that you can tie to astronomy as well, partnering with an astronomy club or a local university or somebody like that. Okay, who can actually talk about what the optical event is as well as our event, because it brings people in. And that triggers an idea is that, and my note to file is to do like a generic press release, much like you would do for field day, announcing what you're going to do around the event.
Awesome. Okay, good.
Gary, there's probably a 1A that might be publicized, the HamSCI website, in terms of just general announcement out from officers, even before the speaker arrives.
Has the SEQP ever been advertised on QRZ at all?
Like
And you
referring
had
back to
a
2017.
Like what we did for the NASA grant on QRZ?
Oh, like a
The-
press release that way.
Right, the announcement. Has there ever been an SEQP announcement on QRZ? Because that might generate some.
Well, yeah, that ties back to, like an August 1st launch. Yeah, just generically what we're trying to do. So that would work. That would work. One thing going back to the press release for clubs is that maybe in parens, Gary, is that there's maybe it's a small media kit or a press kit.
In clubs, is there some sort of, what about clubs trying to predict what their propagation will be like, how it's going to change?
That's interesting.
So they all get around and say, okay, we know that we usually see this at this time of day and try to make a prediction of what they think is going to happen. And then when they go in, they can operate the SEQP and see if what they predicted actually did happen.
Yep.
So
Tie
there's a
that,
before, during, and after.
Nathaniel?
perhaps tie that to boacap.com, which does an excellent job of propagation prediction, and see if it comes true.
Nathaniel, this is David.
Yeah, David.
You have a Scranton club call sign at this point, right?
Yes.
And Case, of course, does as well. I wonder if you both would post HamSCI, the SEQP on the pages there on QRZ.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
That would be a way to get it out.
Yep.
Yeah, Ed,
I don't think
Yeah.
Ed. The post that you started on QRZ on the 29th of June, I saw it just a few days ago on
Yep.
their front page. Under news.
I just realized that the Dartmouth Club would have a QRZ page. I don't know that we've ever populated it. I'm gonna have to go look. Just so people know it's W1ET.
I like that one.
It's gotta be called the Big Green Amateur Radio Club, I would hope.
Yeah, we're boring. Dartmouth Amateur Radio Association.
I
Yeah,
was doing laundry this morning, and I thought about it, David. I was watching my wife's Big Green women's lacrosse T-shirt that we picked up there a few years ago. So
Oh, neat.
Yeah, the other thing, this sort of falls in maybe partial media kit, but also don't forget, I mean, schools are a target. And usually for field day, everyone is always late to getting to them, but this, because it's in October, it's while the eclipse falls on a Saturday, there's still something that perhaps as a short-term activity that we might be able to tie into some clubs, with some clubs, to be able to talk to some local schools. April is obviously a weekday, so that works even better.
Yeah, because the school should be pretty excited about the whole thing. So
Yeah,
yeah,
and
to
longer
tie the two
lead
together
times,
makes
yeah.
sense.
Yeah.
Mary Lou, do you have any thoughts on this? Yeah. You're always the astronomy outreach person.
Well, yeah, there's a lot of astronomy clubs, so I would think that would be a good thing to indeed do, but you've already listed that one, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 down. Get in contact with the local astronomy club.
Yep.
You could have a speaker go to them too, like I had Ron speak at my astronomy club.
Correct, yeah. Yeah, and as I think I mentioned to a few, in 2017, we had a member of the club who had a solar telescope. And that really, it brought people in as well as, and we obviously, we're doing the SEQP, inside the clubhouse, but it really packed both venues. So we easily had over 100 people.
Yeah, we have that synergy here in New Mexico. During the day before our division convention, there's a group that's going down to the Very Large Array. And there are several hams who have both worked there and others who still work there. So a lot of synergy there.
Yep.
And we should contact Bill Jeffer and Jenny Jump. And I'm part of Springfield Telescope Makers here in Vermont.
How's your flooding situation, David?
Locally here, not too bad, but you go one town either way and there's some pretty heavy damage. Queechee and Woodstock got nailed. Where I live over in Canaan, we had at least one side of the town get nailed. Of course, the real damage is in central, up and down the spine of the Green Mountains.
Yeah, Montpelier.
Montpelier got hit
Yeah.
even harder than Irene did.
Yep.
Hit to it. We've got a big bicycle ride tomorrow and Saturday, the Prouty, which raises money for our local cancer center. 100-mile ride, supposed to be both days. We've had to reroute the tomorrow, which we call the ultimate. It's an add-on because it was going all the way through Vermont and a lot of washouts that exist. So we're going to keep it closer to home tomorrow.
Can I make a note going back to media kits? One note to file as well as that we really need access to a graphic designer or graphic artist. We can just help make the stuff look good.
So I know that it was denied before when Gary asked, but if I know Gary asked, if you have a specific request, I can go to Jerry Zaboski and ask again. And that's if it comes from if he says yes, it'll happen.
Okay.
And that's one possibility. The other possibility is there's this website called Fiverr, which Christina has used before. For what I've seen the results from it, it looked amazing. So I think we could it was very inexpensive. You got some really nice results from that.
Okay.
So I
If you
think
send me
we
the
could
link
use
to that, that would be great. Thank you.
Sure.
This
Gary,
is Bill in New Mexico. One thought that comes to mind for club participation, some members may already have Whisper Light transmitters. If not, they're relatively inexpensive, simple to program, and are wonderful for doing propagation studies. And I think fit in perfectly with this Eclipse radio concept. So perhaps suggest what can you do with Whisper Light? And of course, people can also use their current radios along with WSJT-X in that vein. But the Whisper Light transmitters are you program, you hook them up to some kind of antenna, and you're studying propagation.
And I think in the Great Minds Think Alike category, we actually created a competition this year called the Gladstone Signal Spotting Challenge, where we'll be pulling the data out of PSK Reporter or the Reverse Beacon Network, etc., And we'll be able to score and rank the whisper transmitter operators and receivers and who's got the most spots out there. So that's definitely something we're definitely promoting that. So you're right. Good one.
Gary, I was going to suggest that as a visual with any of the astronomy, well, I mean, you almost picture this big screen solar projection being done by the astronomy team. But how about for number 8, multi-slice SDR signal visualization, where you are looking at either broadcast stations across the boundary of the eclipse. So I'm thinking of the Northeast folks where, you know, you're looking at WWV either on medium wave or low HF, and you're able to watch carrier signals modify as the eclipse passes. Or best of all, do we have some AM broadcast stations come to life with sidebands as a result of that's not prohibitive. You know, that helps people that are on the very edge of the event have some fun with it.
What do you mean by come alive with sidebands?
No, just if that, obviously we're gonna have the D-layer absorption going on normally during the day and just ground wave reception in the broadcast band. But to what extent will the band wake up, and for how long, for if you're on the east side of the Mississippi, to be able to receive Pacific Coast or Mountain Zone AM broadcast?
Yeah, we do have people on it.
Yeah, I used to
So,
work.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
I used to work for Citadel, then Cumulus Broadcasting here in Albuquerque. And we have the big 770 50 kW transmitter just a few miles away, which locally requires me to have a bandpass filter to eliminate them on 160 meters. Anyway, during the day, they're on a single tower. At night, they go directional. But of course, during the day, during the eclipse, they will not go directional. So they'll have the full power omnidirectional signal. And I think it would be interesting for those places, for example, up in Kansas, which we used to protect. So people in Kansas could hear WABC from New York City. Why, I don't know. FCC, who can explain that? But pick some stations like that. And I can't remember the call sign, but the one up 50 kW transmitter in Denver, same situation.
Right.
Omnidirectional 50 kW. They'd be perfect stations to monitor.
Yeah, we've got a set of stations that we've chosen on the east of the Mississippi, and generally in the 1500 kilohertz range, because we get better Doppler shift off of them. And we're beginning to look at what can be received from where. But some investigation of what's useful to the west side of the Mississippi would be helpful.
Yeah, David, you know, we haven't talked yet, but at Penn State, that's what we're doing right now with 1 second signal strength sampling from 4 different stations, from Chicago to Boston to Philly to Baltimore. And I'd love to collaborate with you on a separate call. And my thought of it, and this is a bullet, is that for a club that was in a public setting, kind of fun to watch the AM appear to for any viewing public.
Right.
In addition to what we're doing in the background. I'll send you an email and we'll find some time, sir.
Excellent.
Tag up.
Yep. Yeah, because we have an active research program using AM broadcast in Northeast.
Yeah, David has already sent me
Is-
your email with the great work that's been done. So I'm looking forward to the chat. Great.
Is there a
thank you,
way
guys.
that we can tie into people the idea that they really do some analysis after the event too? Like they try to work something up and then present it at the HamSCI workshop, or somehow kind of, you know, close that loop, bring it to completion. We kind of have that with the make a prediction and then follow up afterwards. But how do we make that both interesting and both interesting that people want to do it, and then do it in a way that it actually is meaningful?
Yep.
You know, in terms of workshop format, when I was working with Advanced Manufacturing Institutes, we had an equivalent. Forgive me for using the phrase, but equivalent of speed dating, where a presenter that had a need and a presenter that had a solution had 1 minute to describe it. And it was a very effective way of going around the room. At the workshop, you could frame out a half hour, an hour, and give, for instance, 1 minute opportunities for contributions of findings from the Eclipse, and just keep it moving fast paced. That's just event thought.
Nathaniel, I wonder if SETI at home might be a possible model.
Well, with the SETI at home, isn't it? People are just like running a program on their computer, and they're not
Right, but I mean, in terms of soliciting people to come in and help analyze the data, we would probably
Yeah, that-
need to have like some canned programs for them to run.
Yeah, I mean, we have the quote unquote, the programs that are closest to being canned, I think we have to run right now are still a lot of work. You know, I think it'd be nice if there were a way that people could, you know, it's not going to be for everybody, but there are definitely
No.
people out there who are scientists and or amateurs who would have, you know, who would be able to go collect the data and, you know, come up with some creative way of analyzing it and saying something useful. There are definitely people out there who have that ability. How do we engage those people to put something together?
Yeah.
And once we get them engaged, then we have to have them make up a spreadsheet that's got holes in it that you send to everybody else, and they put their data in the holes and send it
Yeah.
back.
Yeah, sort of a standard or a template. That's a guideline so that we're consistent,
Yeah.
gathering things consistently.
Especially makes sense when you talk about earlier, we were talking about contacting all the NASA Space Flight Center clubs and that sort of thing too, so.
Yeah,
That'd be
that,
something
yeah, that
else.
might be a good lead to, have conversations, so.
Maybe that's something you bring, you know, Mitzi Adams might be interested in helping with, or
Yep.
I don't know, Gareth, what do you think too? Gareth, are you there? You may have lost him.
Yeah, I don't see him. Yeah.
Um,
Oh, there he is. Yeah.
his picture's there.
Yes, pictures there, but he might be, you know,
He's wandered
he,
off.
he has a 4-year-old son too, and I don't know if he's at home or if he's at, there all sorts of things, you know.
But just
Okay.
realize that there are
Uh,
very,
uh,
people are open to various levels of abuse. And
Yeah.
so you might have some simpler tasks and some more complex tasks.
Yeah, but post-event analysis could also be something that, you know, high schools might do.
Yep.
I like the idea that somebody suggested about projecting a large view of something on the wall. Astronomy clubs have found that very useful at night, where you're out in the dark though, but you have a small projector that has a big piece of light, and you project it on a sheet that you've hung on a local barn, and it's just the feed from one particular telescope or something like that. And as people wander around and talk to people at different telescopes, they always come back to the projection and see what that one telescope is looking at. So having something big and central like that is really nice. Good idea.
You know, to add on to that one, even if you don't have the local astronomy presence, there's got to be plenty of web streams that are going to occur right from the center of the and the partial, and you
Yeah.
can almost picture like a four photo projection up on the wall of the center of the path, the periphery of the path, and the public could walk by and see the view from Detroit, the view from Kansas City, the view
Mhm.
from Pickett. kind of a multi-window stream. Great thought.
Good.
Yeah, I thought we'd have a big win if we came up with 10 ideas, and we're pretty darn
That's
close. We
great.
got some good ones.
No, I think this also just, just falls nicely back with what Mike Walters was asking about, that we can provide ideas. So we've got a pretty good inventory list to be able to talk to him about.
Hey, Gary, I have another idea. I apologize for the noise. So I had an idea, kind of not related to the science part, so it's not as important. But if we want contesting clubs to really get involved, maybe we can think about making certificates or plaques. And also, I think a good idea would be maybe to have like a special QRZ award. I know people who make a certain amount of contacts or participate in DX contests have a special award on QRZ that they can apply for. But maybe we can work something out with the owner of QRZ, and they can earn like a special award for participating in the SEQP, and it would be on their QRZ page.
Yeah, I know we'll be giving certificates for everybody who submits the log. That we've already talked about WA7BNM about that. And we should have certificates for the top scores and that sort of thing too. I know another idea along those lines, Rachel Bodeker has talked about what she calls images, which she calls badges. People could put on their QRZ pages. She said
Yep.
those are more popular than you would think.
Yep.
So that all kind of goes along, and it all ties back into what Ed was talking about earlier, is having a good graphic designer and stuff too. 'Cause,
Yeah.
you want something that looks good, make it worthwhile.
Well, and it also ties back to POTA. So, I mean, maybe we could do something, not necessarily now, but more, sort of grassroots, that almost the POTA guys grab a hold of and they create something. So you never know where it comes from. So it's a good idea.
There's
People like
an
recognition.
international FT8 club that we've approached and asked them
Yeah, there you
to,
go. Right.
create
There
an
you go.
event for that day, but
Yep.
I come to think of it, I haven't heard back from them,
Yep.
so I got to figure
Yep.
out what happened to that.
There's also a pretty vibrant FT4 group that's formed as well, too.
So in today's world of contesting, something that's done frequently, and the WRTC event that just happened in Italy is online scoreboard.
Yep.
Where
Real time. Yep.
real time, you get to see people's events, and I think that ties in well with what Mackenzie brought up. Contests, not that I'm competitive, I race sports cars and contests, but people like to see what's going on live. Where do I stand? And it's great to see your car number up there, just as it is your call sign with online scoring.
Awesome. Yes, good one.
And I operated from brain fart, somewhere in Wyoming for the last total solar eclipse at a park up there somewhere in Wyoming, and it was just a lot of fun. Interesting watching people come by and us throwing antennas. Had a grandson help get antennas up in the trees at the park.
Yep.
And then we had a telescope as well as sitting out at a table in the park operating. A lot of people were curious about, what is that noise? That's Morse code. And of course that fit in with a reverse beacon network as well.
People still do know what Morse code is. I was listening to the local college radio station today. There was a song I heard for the first time, and they talk about, I don't know, there was something in there. I just heard the word Morse code come by as part of the vocals. It's like, whoa, where did that come from? So
Yeah, a lot of popular music has Morse code in it, either in vocals or in the drum line. It's very popular right now.
Yeah, there's a guy, his call sign escaped me at the moment in Florida, who works it into his music. Blind musician.
All right, we've got 10 pretty
This
good
is great.
ideas here. Ed, well, let me think about this a little bit.
Yeah,
we'll
and then
talk about,
obviously we'll go back to
organizing a little
Desiree's
bit.
notes that she sent us. So, because there'll be some ideas from what NASA's thinking about as well too. So all
Okay.
good.
All right, I think this is good for this week. Thank you, everyone. I'll save this one and I'm sure we'll come back to it next week and provide everyone an update a little bit. Stop my sharing. Okay. Last topic, Nathaniel, you brought up the scoring committee, which has been had very little activity once Jay finished the document that he wrote up. So that's probably my fault, but there's not much going on right there right now.
Yeah, I guess it'd be good if we could find someone who would be willing to chair the scoring committee and be responsible for, digging up programmers or, moving that along.
So the idea that you put forth, it's probably been more than a month or so ago now, is I can put something out on the general HamSCI list, and we're gonna have 850 some odd people that'll see it at least, and see
Yeah.
what we come back with.
So are you looking for how to input logs and then check the logs? And
Well,
accomplish?
we've got Bruce Horn, WA7BNM, said he would work on the log robot. So we've got a place to log the Cabrillo file logs, and he could also even be able to accept ADA formats for the FT8 only crowd, which is great. And that will also generate a participation certificate. Those logs will then go onto somewhere in the cloud on a server, and we'll have access to them. But you're right then, Bill. The next step will be to start to not only score the logs, which is actually a small part of the data. Last event, we had 566 logs, but we had 2.5 million spots we had to go through, reverse beacon network, PSK, so on and so forth, to really do the proper scoring. So it was kind of a big data project, bigger than you would normally expect from a QSO party.
Yeah.
So I will take care of doing that the next couple of days, at least get something out on the HamSCI reflector and see what comes back from that. The other thing I wanted to mention on speaking of the science topics a little bit is I did have some correspondence with, I think it was Bill Callahan at RPI, who was interested in, of course it's summer now, but getting his undergraduates, the students involved a little bit more with HamSCI and understanding some of the science and the technology behind the whole thing. So I don't know if Nathaniel, I should put him in contact with you. I didn't want to leave him hanging, but we obviously got interest. We want to pursue it. I know.
Sorry, say that one more time. I was writing an email about the graphics.
Yeah,
Graphics.
it was there's a gentleman. I think it was Bill Callahan, if I remember correctly, from RPI.
Yes.
Said that he wants to get his undergraduate students more involved in HamSCI, understanding what we're all about, and contributing to the science at some point. I wasn't sure what to do with. I mean, I got the email from him saying that's what he'd like to do. I wasn't sure where to go from there.
Maybe he can. I would offer him, the different projects we have. I would say either probably the best. I'd say either the grape, the tangerine, or this project, the SEQP. See if he wants to join in any of those, and then they could potentially join our telecons. If he wants to be on the grape project, we obviously have grapes to build, and they can get on the air that way. If they want to do the Clementine project, right now we are working with the RX888 software-defined radios and trying to do, SDR projects with those. If he wants to do solar eclipse QSO party stuff, he could work over here. It depends what level. I think Steve Serwin might be looking for people to help him with coding and analysis. So I think a lot of it is what sort of thing are they interested in, what sort of commitment level. I do know Brian is a very sharp PhD level faculty member up at RPI who's published some technical articles in QEX. So he's a very technical, well-versed and capable person. So he might be interested in doing some of the more advanced things or having his students do some of the more advanced things. So,
Okay. All right, that helps me give us some direction and thanks. Okay, is there anything else anybody wants to discuss?
Maybe
or
just
bring
one
up, or-
quick FYI, Gary, is that I did reach out to CQ to get the contest listing placed with Moseson. Okay, that's okay. I'm reaching out to QST on Monday. Their contest person was away, so I figured I would wait till Monday. I guess we still need, I guess initially like with 3830 and things like that regarding, getting posted, if my memory serves. me correctly.
That's up there. That's been up there for months.
Okay, so,
Yeah,
okay, so
both the
that's a
August,
closed issue
yeah.
now, right? Okay.
Both events, yeah, 3830
Okay,
is
perfect.
good.
Thanks. Yep,
Contest calendar.
yep, perfect. Mhm.
Yeah, I'll be circling back with Bruce again in August, because that's when he said to talk to him and remind him about getting the log robot ready for
Yep.
October.
Yeah, Bill
Okay,
TE, I'll be reaching out to you over the weekend, okay? On email.
Thank you,
You're welcome.
thank you.
All right, 2 minutes to 5, pretty good timing. Is there anything else? Otherwise, we'll call it a wrap for this week and
as
See what happens
I've
between-
told other people on other telecons, I'm going to Switzerland this week for a conference. So I will not be on telecons next week, but I hope you continue and keep the lights on. And I'll still will possibly be in touch by email. And hopefully I get there, because I know I was supposed to leave from Newark tomorrow night at like 7 p.m. I got an email saying that flight was canceled, and now I'm leaving from JFK tomorrow at 11 p.m. So we'll see how I get there. I might end up swimming, so we'll see.
yeah, I don't think your new Subaru is going to help. I don't think you can drive, so
Yeah, no.
especially with the Arctic, the ice flow is melting, and there'll be a Northwest Passage soon. So,
I know.
all right, okay, everyone, that's it then. Thank you very much for everyone's contributions. Very helpful as always, and enjoy the summer weather and have a great week.
Thank you. 7-3.
Three all.
Bye-bye.